Well, I've got a formal agenda to work to, so for Richard's benefit, I'll go through that. But welcome to join us anyway.
Thank you, Doris.
This is a meeting of the Publication and Communication Subcommittee of the Parish Council. As you're probably aware, there's like currently 5 subcommittees.
Standing committees.
Standing committees.
Okay.
And you two.
Don't worry, I won't know if you call them the wrong thing. Just for the sake of the recording. Okay.
So, so we need to do a welcome. So welcome to the meeting, everybody. You might as well introduce themselves individually, actually, to say a few of us.
Councillor Jason Brooke, Waldale.
Hi.
Rich, Deputy Clerk.
And this, you know, Rachel?
I'm Rachel Huntley. Yeah, I've met Rachel on tech things occasionally, or you've been in the same meetings.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm Julia Brown, and I do all the marketing and comms for On This Show.
We'll rejig the agenda anyway to talk about your thing first. So, I don't know where we normally cut off. Do we normally cut off at this point, or do public question time, which obviously isn't any, and all the other things?
Yeah, you start off with public question times, then you go through the meeting, and if you want to bring anything forward, you do it after
after the minute.
After minutes,
minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So, there's
it is the item for that anyway. We can just suspend the standing orders at 07.
Right. 07, not 47.
Is it 07 on the agenda?
No, it's all right.
Yeah,
So it just goes through the meeting and then it's the first substantive item.
Yeah. Okay.
Rather cleverly.
Yeah.
So, public bodies, we need to agree that this meeting is going to be recorded, which we've been doing. Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Have got any apologies for absence?
Just from Kath.
Okay. Has anybody got any personal and disclosable pecuniary interests to declare?
No.
And we've got any DPI dispensations?
We don't.
And is there anything on the agenda that should be considered in a private session?
Nope.
And we've got the minutes of the previous meeting. Are they a true and accurate record?
Yeah.
Or is there any matters arising that aren't on the agenda? Or anything that needs to be... I know Richard's pretty much... Some of these things have to be brought forward anyway, and then there's updates on the agenda. So. No?
No, they're fine.
We're all happy with that? Yeah. Okay, so we'll skip forward to the item. The way this is opening is really frustrating. For some reason, this version isn't letting me see the next bit of the agenda.
Well, the next bit is the On This Show anyway.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what minute reference it was for yours.
You might be glad of something to do while I'm speaking, Doris.
So on item agenda 07, as well, just for your benefit, we've been trying to think how we can be much more proactive really about celebrating local things really. Because there's lots of things happening in the area, and some things people forget about, and some things you've already knew it was your centenary and you planned to do something for it.
Yeah.
So we've been looking around really for different things that are happening, and Richard been looking into that. And anyway, so that's why you're here, because we were thinking how we can support local events that have got significant dates coming up. So it's probably best for you to start, I guess, by giving me what your thoughts are.
So we just need to formally suspend the standing orders.
Oh, sorry, it's been
I'll stop it up.
You're all happy to formally suspend standing orders? Yeah, I've got a majority of that.
Okay. Well, it's a special event because it's the centenary year. So the first show was August the 27th, 1921. So as you probably know, we've been beleaguered by bad weather and COVID. So we've had 2 lots of bad weather, then we had COVID, but this is the actual centenary year. So we thought there's absolutely no way that we want to miss the centenary year. It's really just not the same next year saying this is our 101st year, do come along. Yeah. But we were very mindful of COVID and we needed to do something different because we couldn't go to the expensive, great big cattle competitions, £30,000 on marquees for the plug to be pulled by Boris just 2 days before, etc, etc. So earlier on this year we decided we'd do a celebratory event, yeah. So rather than big show cattle tent, sheep tent, etc. We'd run an event with no competitions, so no animal competitions, so we're not bringing in bulls and 40 head of cattle and 60 sheep, etc., etc. But make it a celebration, 100 years, take it back to where it started, which was Honley Cricket Club. So we had a really good conversation with Honley Cricket Club. They're used to running Honley Feast. We've spoken to Sylvia and June, yeah. So we've kind of got all their learnings from the feast, we've got all our own learnings, yeah. We're moving tentatively towards this flavour of event, so we will have cattle, we will have sheep, we will have goats, we will have all the animal categories, but they'll be available to see and for kids to get up close with. It'll be more like sounds horrible, more like a petting holiday show, you know, it's for engaging with the local community. So we obviously had to go at the end of the cricket season, which suited us down to the ground because we wanted the cricket club and the rec behind it, so that we actually have got plenty of space. Yeah. 18th September is the date, which again works perfectly because we thought we're going to be clear of, surely we should be clear of COVID by then. You know, it's giving us our best chance. We should be clear as a result of the summer naturally, even if the vaccine system hadn't worked, etc., and we won't hopefully have gone into an autumn peak. And we're really getting the feel as we start to promote it that people are really hungry for it. Yeah, they're kind of, we've not done anything, we've not had a Honley show for ages. It will be fantastic timing. We took these banners, which is kind of our themed art for this year, up to Yorkshire Motorsport Festival because they gave us a free trade stand. Yeah. So we were giving out stickers with the date on it, etc., etc. The people were just so delighted to see us. You know, we thought we missed it already this year, you weren't doing it. If you're going to do it later on in the year, that's great. So I think there's a big appetite for it. We've got a very tangible sense of the appetite for it because we do trade stands, you know, where all the local businesses come and buy trade stand space. It's full. It's been full for weeks. So the local businesses are really, really up for it. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got a waiting list of, in fact the waiting list went up at this event because people were coming to us and saying, we didn't know you were doing it, can we come? We'll probably be able to accommodate them because we're not going to get the really big trade stands, so we'll break down space. So there will be even more businesses coming through. So it'll be very much local businesses, very much flavour of in terms of animals, yeah. We're going to make much more of the history than we normally do. So the committee, God help us, have all decided we will all fancy dress, yeah. So we'll all be 1920s themed. So there'll be that kind of, it's that kind of flavour. The cricket club said, well, we don't normally do this because we're normally a one-day event, we finish at 6. We're all shot to pieces by then anyway, you know, we've been building up to it for weeks. But the cricket club want to roll on and do an event in the evening as well, which is a bit more Honley Feast-like, yeah, which is great. So it will be kind of a celebratory party. Kirklees have been super helpful. They're kind of, they might become un-super helpful obviously as we get closer to the event and they start to put restrictions in, but for the time being, yeah, they're totally engaged with us. The rec's booked, yeah, everything's going ahead. We're involving our usual kind of high-level sponsors. Belong in Honley, our kind of main sponsor, give us the most money. Morehouse are a fantastic support, and we want them on the field with their branded trailers. I'm talking to Josie this week. We might get, they've got a couple of old vehicles that we might get on there just to keep the history theming going. And Longley Farm have said yes, they're definitely going to sponsor. So those are our 3 key sponsors. Yeah. So the 3 key sponsors are on board. Business is more than on board. Yeah, we're really getting the feel from the Yorkshire Motorsport Festival that the public are really, really keen. Yeah, so it's kind of the groundswell of opinion is getting to the point where we're going to do it because we've held fire. We've kind of gone, no, we can't commit, yeah. So we're waiting till the last minute to book certain things that we know might get pulled from under us. But we're getting to the stage now where it's going to happen. Yeah. So from a financial point of view, it's an odd year. We're trying to do it so that we haven't got the huge financial commitment that we normally have in the big show. And in fact, there's some danger that we will run it at a loss, which kind of isn't ideal, but we really felt like we needed to do it. But one of the reasons we might run it at a loss is we don't know how many tickets that are in circulation that have been held over from previous years. Because when it's been cancelled in the last 2 years, we've said to people, hang on to your tickets, you can use them in the next show. So we've kind of got this little bit of an unknown, and it's like, okay, that's lovely. Yeah. So yes, so that is an area of exposure for us. But you know, we just feel time's right because from a COVID point of view, right because it's centenary, feel we've got the love, trade and public want to go ahead. So any assistance from the Home Barnet Parish Council would be extremely valued. I think the thing that Sheila originally sent to you, Rich, was very specific and was kind of like doing an elf trail, like Kerry does for Christmas. When I kind of thought about that with my Marcom's hat on, I thought, actually, that isn't a good use of money, because actually what we need to do is to get people to go and look for the tractors, which would be just tractors in windows. We'd need to spend, in inverted commas, or put effort into Facebook or PR to drive people to look for the tractors. So I'm like, actually, so what we want to do a super duper commemorative programme. Yeah, with this kind of upmarket, better than usual branding, which is, the usual branding is quite colourful and jolly and a little bit childlike, but we want to be a bit more sophisticated and a bit more centenary, and something that when we look back on it in 20 years' time, we'll go, oh, we did a right job for the centenary kind of thing. So potentially that programme might get used as the ticket entry. You might actually sell them in advance like we've done previously, but actually the programme itself might be the entry booklet. We also think people will probably want them, because we're going to put quite a lot of history pages in there, which Morehouse are going to sponsor, just so that the history of the show is really clearly outlined. So my thinking was, if you could help us fund that, that would be fantastic. And what we would probably do with it is take the front page of it, which I think will be that image, very, very striking. So rather than run a tractor trail, we might run some kind of quiz or interactive thing, driving people to businesses that are showing this, a poster version of the centenary artwork. So I'm trying to think of comms pieces that will work really hard. So we've kind of got the key art, the design and artwork for that. We're working with Jules Davis. Is it Jules Davis? Can't remember. Her name's Jules, but she's a local. I've never met her. I speak to her on email. She's done this for us, and she will do the artwork for the programme and whatever else we need. So she's local. Print Pod are our usual printer, who are obviously local. So we got some hasty costs off, I think, is it Richard this morning? So a 3,044 page gloss art, because that would be, in terms of standard, it's like this, it's full colour, obviously. Design would be like that, but it's shiny and upmarket, yeah. A 44 page 3,000 gloss art would be 980. 5,000 of them, 44 pages, would be 1,400. 3,000 of them at 48 pages would be 1,060, and 5,000 of them. So we've got, it would be 1,625. So we've kind of got a range of prices depending on the number we print and the number of pages it's got. And then we've got a design and artwork cost, because we would need to artwork central, key pages, central pages and that kind of thing. So I know Sheila on a ballpark figure to Rich on an email said, well, about 2,000. But, you know, whatever, 2,000 would be lovely. But if you were happy to fund 5,000 of these at 44 pages for 1,400 and pay Richard at Print Pod, that would be great. Yeah.
I suppose the challenge for us is one we haven't. Well, we need to have a conversation after
Yes. Yeah.
and have some thoughts and also look at our budget because,
Yeah.
as you'd appreciate, the budgets this year are a little bit skew because some things haven't happened and
I can imagine. Yeah.
so and we've got other things to consider as well. So
Yeah, that's fine.
so I don't want to spend too much time asking too many questions, but if you're going to use the brochure as a ticket,
Mhm.
do you need one for every person who's through the gate?
Possibly.
Right.
So I would be happier with 5,000. We think 3,000 is the most we're going to get. That's kind of Honley Feasty area. Yeah. But then we do think people might want to keep them or might just want the programme for its own sake.
Yeah.
So we think at 5,000 we're okay. And I don't actually feel we will need more than the 44 pages, to be honest. Because there's some things that won't need to be covered because it's not a full show.
Yeah.
So I kind of think the 44 page, 5,000 copies at £1,400 for print would be right. And I would envisage that what we would do would be, you know, whatever the art is, and at the bottom it would be centenary programme kindly sponsored by Home Valley Parish Council.
Well, that was my second question,
Yeah.
because you said that Moorlands give you some funding as well.
More
So
House
do they
Love
affect
Belong and Longley Farm do, yeah.
So, but you'll acknowledge those in the programme as sponsors of other elements or
Yes.
advertising space?
Yeah, so for instance, Moorhouse, we've got the 1921 programme, which is great. So I would like, because I want Moorhouse to sponsor the history element of the show this year, so both on the field and off the field, yeah. The back page for me would be the 1921 programme with the history of Honley show, centenary year, sponsored by Moorhouse. Belong, I would probably give the centre spread, you know, because they're key. But then, if you're sponsoring the programme, you would have, we could have the Home Valley Parish Council logo and kindly sponsored programme, kindly sponsored by Home Valley Parish
So I
Council.
suppose that's the other reason why, one of the reasons, more cynical reasons perhaps why we're doing this is to make more people aware that the parish council exists as well. So it's partly about our brand and saying we are supporting and trying to, you know, so that's good to hear that it's something we can quite clearly is marked up as.
I mean, I think, you know, if you're looking at where Honley show is there and the web address, you know, very simply, we'd move it all up.
Yeah.
We'd put your logo on it and kindly sponsored by, and then if we're using the same art in shop windows, which I'm sure we would, you know, and then obviously I run the Facebook page, which has got 3,500 followers. So as soon as you say yes, we're going to sponsor it, then I would be out there on the Facebook page saying
we can use our comms to push.
yeah, which would just be fantastic. So, and obviously the website. So we could give website coverage, social media coverage, front page of the programme.
Yeah.
Probably use those in shops, etc., etc. I think the programme's got more keepability than it would have in any other year. Yeah, because people are going to want to keep the centenary. So,
because I know initially we had talked about, well, this was probably wearing my normal rural show hat,
right.
that you do have sections that could be sponsored, but it's clear, and I've seen from the correspondence from Rich, that you're not doing any of those types of competitive bits, are you?
Not this year. Not this year, apart from handicrafts. So I had a chat to our handicrafts ladies, because I wasn't sure whether you wanted to do an either or whether you wanted to do both. So I actually think if you were going to sponsor a competitive section, handicrafts actually would be a really good one, because as a parish council you're not really, it would be odd for you to be locked into cattle. You know, that's Longley Farm's job, is to be locked into cattle. Moorhouse job, because they used to have heavy horses pulling the wagons, is to be locked in as sponsor of the heavy horses, you know. So what feels right for a parish council is to be locked into something that's about the community, and handicrafts is about kids or grown-ups making things, you know. So for me there's a kind of an industry stroke business stroke artistic egalitarian, everyone can have a go. Whereas if you sponsor the cattle section, you're really kind of sponsoring people who own land and cattle, which is a little bit elitist. So I had a chat to the handicraft ladies, and they said, what they haven't got, so they've got a Sue Asher trophy and an Ellen somebody else trophy, one for art and one for something else for the under-7s. They haven't got a best like a best in show trophy for the 8 to 16-year-olds. So I think that would be a lovely category
Is that something we could
to do. 8 to 16, handicraft. It gets you into schools, gets you into the community, etc., etc. So for me, that would be, I've kind of wrote some wording down earlier. So for me, that would be something like Home Valley Parish Council St Emery Award, Best Handicraft Exhibit, 8 to 16-year-olds. You know, that's how we would bill it. And then it would be a great year to inaugurate the Home Valley Parish Council. And we'd call it the Centenary Award because it was awarded in it was inaugurated in the centenary year. And then, so for that point of view, I wouldn't like you to do that instead of the programme. Because, she says, don't want to talk this up too much. Because because for me, that would be kind of you providing maybe a £50 prize and the item.
Yeah.
Your name is forever attached to that item for the 8 to 16-year-olds, as long as you go along with the prize money every year, I guess. So, and I was thinking it would be quite good to do something, because it's handicrafts, it allows you to do, it would be a little bit lacking in imagination, I think, if we just did a trophy. If it's the handicraft section, I kind of feel like I'd like to do maybe an embroidered thing, or something that represented Honley Show, like an ironwork animal or something. You know, just something a little bit different that wasn't.
Mini Kirby Geddes sculpture or something.
Yeah, or
Which
just
might cost more than 50 quid.
possibly.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of, but
Yeah.
just something that's forever the Home Valley Parish Council Centenary Award for Best Handy, that kind of
That's
thing.
interesting. I know Jason wants to.
Sorry.
Yeah, regarding the money for the magazine, I think you nailed on the head. You probably need to apply for a grant to the full council on that one,
Okay.
because we can't do that on this committee. But one thing I was going to suggest was running a competition. Now, we could get like a permanent trophy like from Mickey and Geddes, just we said what we used to have for Tidy Trader, do something which is a permanent trophy we could hand in. Every year we hand it out, the children could hand it to the winner or whatever, that's not an issue. But I was thinking another one is, like you said, like, you could run a competition in the magazine. I think for this year I would like to do that as well, where we could get the community involved, looking for things around the community where I would like to do, if we could do something like that just for this, like as a one-off as well, in the magazine. Even if it's just like a £10 prize for a child to spot the most tractors around the Honley village, or something like that. Where you get people looking into shots, but they're looking for...
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we originally
I
started.
would like to that's one thing I would like to incorporate with, but yeah, I do like the idea of sponsoring that type of thing, but maybe if we can have time to create a trophy like that from the Geddes, I don't know.
Like, through Kirby Geddes was just that, and I was just thinking, there's quite a lot of local sculptures around, isn't there, that would make something practical. Rachel, do you want to...
There's there's certainly loads of local sculptors. They're all displaying their wares through the valley at the minute, aren't they? So they've got to choose it. But anyway, I think you're right in that because of the way our budgets work, we haven't set aside enough to fund all the things you're talking about. But there's no reason we can't make a recommendation tonight to full council, which means next Monday, which has the authority to awards grants. It would normally go through, and this is all very tedious, but we'll just go through the right committee if you like. It would normally go through finance and management, but the next meeting isn't until early September, which is clearly too late.
Yes.
So I would suggest, given we have now here's a question. We've set aside for this year's budget actually £20,000. Normally we set aside £10,000 to give to community grants, and in previous years, the limit has been £1,000 for any organisation to make an application.
Okay.
But we deliberately raised the budget to try and not only encourage more people to apply, but also recognising that last year we didn't give as many out because there weren't any events going on.
No.
So my suggestion would be that you put together a grant application form, and we can send you the linked to it or highlighted.
Yeah,
to you,
that's good. Yeah.
which would then need to, unfortunately, have to be filled in really quickly.
That's all right. That's fine.
Because ideally it needs to
That's
get with Rich tomorrow. It's a very
Tomorrow?
short...
Okay,
Yes,
yes,
tomorrow.
that's fine.
Yeah,
It is a very short form.
No, that's all right.
Because our meeting is on Monday of next week, you see, and the,
You need to
the
get a board
paperwork
pack.
has to be out by Tuesday, really.
Okay.
Maybe, I mean,
I don't need to watch
at
Coronation Street.
the latest Wednesday, but that'll be me driving around people's houses at that point.
I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. I can probably do it tonight.
Right, so, you know, what we need, the sort of information we do need sort of bank statements and stuff like that, just so, you know, of your organisation. It's not just,
Okay.
it's
That said, the form could be filled. I think the key,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
key
yeah.
is the
Okay.
form, which is on our website. If I'll just open it now, just for ease of.
Because we could
trying to
approve,
be helpful.
this all assumes that there's a majority support in the room.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the. Can I just comment on the trophy
Yeah.
in a second? So just on the form, it's just contact details, then what you're applying for, what it pays for, when your group started, that sort of thing. Who you work
100 years
with.
ago.
Exactly. I think you'll find it quite straightforward to fill.
Okay, yeah.
But the finances, you need to put in your income, expenditure, reserves. If you
Okay.
don't have access to that information straight away, there's no reason you couldn't at least submit and say
Yeah.
to follow, and provided that information got to Rich in advance of our meeting on Monday,
Okay.
then he'd be able to
well,
advise.
you need
Well,
to see it basically.
Yeah,
don't you?
okay. I need to see it and put
Yeah.
it through Rich.
Yeah.
And then we could check, because the worst case is that we don't have that information and then a councillor says, well, we want to see their reserves because we don't believe that they need that amount of money.
Okay.
And then we'll say, well, we don't have that information, in which case
Do
some
it.
councillors may then say, well, we're not willing to give it any money.
Okay.
So, but the key bit of information that we need really is the section that's saying what is it you want to do,
Yeah.
how much is the cost. And,
Yeah.
you know, the
Which I've kind of got here.
and I think I would certainly support the principle of applying for the 5,000 booklets, which is what I think you
Yeah.
ideally would want to secure, which I understand that's 1,400,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I mean, my gut feel is that the council would be quite favourable to that proposal because of the centenary. It's a very, I mean, I think Holly showed marvellous.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
my daughter's birthday treat, so she's been a bit gutted this month.
Yeah.
So we just loved it. But and I think there'll be a desire to support it, but I can't obviously I can't
Yeah.
speak for the decision because it will come down to full council. But it's quite nice actually it goes to full council because it's nice that people are all aware.
Yeah, no, it's good. So
So-
I'm going to be hawking that banner around for the next 2.5 months.
And I think the fact you're potentially losing money, I think, is
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing that.
So that's worth mentioning.
Yeah. I mean, that's on this particular show. We do hold reserves.
Yeah, no, no.
Because we need to hold reserves in case we have a cancellation.
It'd be
Yeah.
worth actually clarifying on your application that the reason you hold reserves is because really you're doing a proper show in 22.
Yeah, exactly,
So you
yeah.
need the bulk of your funds.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you always work it, you get your cash, you have to spend it all in
Exactly. We have to spend it all up front.
Which I think
And
people
then-
understand that, but
Yeah.
if it's in black and white, then if people ask
Yeah.
the question, we can refer them to that.
So-
Can I just suggest that you do turn up next Monday to Hayden Band where that full council meeting is and you could represent yourself, which might be helpful.
I don't mind. I'll bring the banner. Up to you.
Sorry, Rachel.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking of the what's on the full council agenda because it's the annual
It's big.
meeting. It's pretty big.
We should do it with the public speaking. Which is 15,
True,
yeah,
yeah,
15 minutes.
potentially you could come, basically, rather than tonight where obviously we've been able to hear it all in detail, which is great,
Yeah.
you basically get a 3-minute pitch.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I would, yeah, okay. If you're able to come to, if you're happy to come to Lade Edge and give a 3-minute pitch on what you've put in the
Yeah.
document,
Yeah.
then that would be really, that
Okay.
would make a difference actually.
Yeah.
No, that's
You're
it.
quite
Yeah,
right, Jason,
yeah,
it
yeah.
does make a difference, yeah.
Okay.
Because it shows people care enough to travel. In this instance, we're meeting at Hayde Edge, so the room's big enough because it's the first
Okay.
full council meeting we've had since COVID restrictions
Okay.
meant we had to come back in.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Person,
I'm around and about next Thursday, next Monday. So that's fine.
However, what I'd say is that there's the 1,400 which can go effectively through full council but would have gone through finance and management as an application to be considered. But I think the trophy is something that we have got a budget for
Yeah.
special projects, which I think I just looked at is £1,000, but that's to cover all sorts of special projects that we may hold during the year, and therefore we'll have to have a discussion about
Yeah.
how much of that we wish to spend.
Okay.
But Is your sense, I mean, how, I guess ideally, for the purchase of a trophy, because it seems, would you expect us to source one or you to source one that fits with your style of what
Oh,
you're
that's
looking
I'd
for?
have to ask the handicraft ladies. That's kind of slightly. I mean, either way.
I'm just
I mean,
thinking of the budget.
yeah. I mean, if you had a particularly strong view that you wanted it to be a piece of pottery or a piece of ironwork, or if you had a strong view, I think we'd listen to it. I don't think we'd mind. But I'll talk to Bea and Kath about what they think.
Because
Yeah.
I suppose, sorry, I'm speaking lengthy, but I was thinking if there's the prize, so if the prize money is a certain amount, so it's
Again, I would say that it won't be more than £50.
Yeah,
£50
let's
would be
say-
a lot. Yeah.
let's say a trophy is,
Yeah.
when it's been engraved as well, isn't it? 250 quid for a
Well,
decent one.
Yeah.
No, we don't
Well,
want.
you can.
We don't want a tin pot one you get when you play under 10s. We want a.
I think the thing is we need to decide the budget and then
Yeah.
and then have a conversation about who commissions that.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah,
And if it's made locally by somebody who's,
that would be
you
great.
might get more for your money basically, mightn't you, in a sense.
Yeah.
But certainly, I don't think we're not going to the trophy shops by plus the trophy, are we?
No,
We're not.
that's
And
that.
I think something that's more
Yeah.
feels more in keeping with the craft worlds.
Yes, that kind of feels good for me because even the trophy itself would be supporting local business or local creativity or
Yeah.
whatever. So that feels good. Yeah.
So I guess it's a
significant.
case of how much money we
Yeah.
Yeah.
would like to set aside for that.
Yeah.
Do you want to make that decision with people in the room or people not?
Well, I think we can make it. It's a public meeting.
My suggestion is, I mean, I think if we are going to spot, I think it might be easy for us to source a trophy because we could, we're in direct control of it then. We can source out, I mean, we can get, I think it gives us sort of ideas like doing something like to deal with that on the show. I mean, so we could either do an animal, like a cow or a horse or something like that, or we could just do something, but then it's properly engraved with our parish council on that. We know it's from us each year, that it is a said trophy from us. It's not like one of these where you just put like a false plate on.
Well, those are all the conversations in some ways. Having somebody who's run trophies at various shows, normally you have a trophy secretary, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's their job to make sure all the trophies come back and are all cleaned and ready and go back out again.
Yeah.
And a lot of people nowadays, I think, don't tend to engrave the trophy when they win it. Do they in the old days, it was a strong tradition. Everybody used to get their own trophies engraved.
Yeah.
Now, when you win a trophy at a show, often nobody's bothered to engrave it for a few years.
Yeah.
But I'd be more interested, I suppose, to know from the ladies who run that section. Do they want, something that isn't engraved, that's just like a lump of sculptured glass or whatever that sits on the windowsill, or would they want something that you could put women's names on, and I don't know the answer.
I mean, there was a rose
children.
bowl that went missing. So I'm not quite, and to be honest, because this is for 8 to 16-year-old children, I think we'd better if it was something a bit more robust and a bit more, as an old person's trophy feels a bit.
I thought we want something.
I mean,
Quite fun. So for me, if it was something like I don't know, it could be Lumi, because that's the local business. If it was something with a plinth with 2 shuttles and a whatever on, or just something that represents handicrafts or craft in this area. I mean, the guys at the blacksmiths, what do they call those places? Forges. They might do something, or there might be something that they could do, because they support every year. Actually, they always have an ad in the programme, so it might be something that they would look at quickly.
Well, I think we. I don't think we can resolve that now. So I think we need to have that conversation with the section.
Yeah.
But I suppose what we can. I'm just looking at the clock. So
Yeah.
If we agree the budget, then we can have those conversations afterwards about
Can I propose a budget of £500
to
to cover the trophy and the
Prize money.
prize money, assuming the prize money is circa £50.
Yeah. I'm sure it won't be more than that, because it's for a child of 8 to 16, and that's probably a lot. And it might be that the £500 is the trophy and prize money for the next 5 years.
Yeah, So
you know, or whatever, so that we've got a bit of longevity baked in,
yeah, well that would be. I mean,
rather than it
yeah.
being a one-off. Does that sound?
And we're fairly sure that leaves us, is that budget untouched at the moment?
Yeah.
And there's nothing really in the pipeline that's going to cost huge amounts that are coming up.
No, I mean, you know, as you know, we've got the Beacon thing coming up, but there's a separate budget for that. We've still got £1,000
Yeah.
right in the
The Beacon comes from the rail budget.
budget. So
Yeah.
Can I,
That's,
so I know we said, so I'm happy with the 500, but could I also just, the idea I suggested is we're doing a competition in the brochure as well for that. So,
Okay.
you know, like, but just, I think it's great for people, because they do it around, it was at Christmas you did it, didn't you? But they're going around looking for, like, shop windows.
clues,
You know,
well,
I think we would-
did you say you were thinking of doing something in Windows?
Yeah, I think if
And
we
it might
do
be
something in
outlets.
Windows, we'd probably use the front of the programme.
and I just wonder if we could just sponsor that, like, and then the, you know, the one who's got the most, or you know, goes into the, we give him a £10 voucher
Yeah,
for the shopping holiday, but we sponsor that.
yeah,
It's just a one-off because it's 100 years.
yeah. I mean, we can't put a competition in the programme, because the programmes won't be in people's hands until the day, until they walk through the door of the. Some people,
appreciate that.
some people will get it ahead, but some people will get it on the day. So
Does that not, but
I think
to just challenge that, if people bought the programme a week in advance and they did the competition, one, you've sold the programme and the kids then use the programme to do the competition.
Doug, that would be the competition tail wagging the Honda
Yeah,
Show attendance policy dog,
Okay.
because we haven't worked out yet
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
understood,
yeah.
So,
So I was just going to say, I recognise that, you know, there is value in having the competition, but I think we should, I must admit, I think we should just leave it to these guys.
Well, fair
Because
enough.
I'm conscious of the lack of time, because we've got like 2 months till the show.
Yeah.
And I actually think the handicraft, the fact that we'll be on the, well, if full council choose to support the
Yes.
application, we will be, you know, front
Front
and
and
centre.
centre of the
But actually,
programme posters.
but even if they didn't, we've still got a real tangible thing that's related to the centenary, which this committee has supported. And I think the sponsor of said competition will probably be a bit lost.
yeah. Can I suggest that one way that you could do some engagement, I'm sure you're thinking of this anyway, is if there was a slightly better prize this year, because say normally it's £5, which I'm sure would have been there with £5.50.
It will, yeah. That's
If we-
why I said
if
if it's £10, it's
If
5
there was
years.
a £50 prize and all the schools were told about that, you might actually get a bigger entry.
Yeah,
So you can actually use it to push out on
Yeah.
social media to say,
yeah,
tell your children to perhaps put an entry in. We've got various categories,
yeah,
and we've got a special prize this year sponsored for the blah blah blah.
yeah.
And it may be that 50 of that 500 goes to that prize fund,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
just gets more feet through the door, and more importantly, more children making something.
No,
and having
no.
it on a show bench, 'cause
If we
that's
can
what
use
it's
it at the
about.
front end as well as the back end, that's great.
Yeah.
But would like to try and keep some of that prize money. Then we know we've got 5
Yeah,
years
yeah.
at least
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, look, we need a proposal to come back from you guys about how you want to see that money split like,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of prize funds.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yes, I mean, I know you're saying for the next 5 years, but there's no reason why, you know, you could go back next year or, you know, say, I won't tie you down self for 5 years. Just say, we'll give you £500 for this year to run
Okay.
that
And then we
competition.
can sort it out.
Because the problem is, if you say 5 years, you're putting yourself in a situation if you don't have quite enough money to cover it all.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just say for this year, we'll give you £500 for the trophy, because the trophy can cost.
Yeah.
And if there's a bit of money left, then use it onto next year's competition.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah.
happy with that. But
Okay.
don't say for the next 5 years, because
Okay.
it can cause a lot of problems.
Right.
If you want to come back next year for some more money, we say, well, you've had it.
Yeah. I did last year, and you're not having any more until 2026.
So, yeah, just keep it. I'll be happy to second the £500, but it's for this year only, not for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Right, so,
Yeah.
and I'll support that as well. So we've agreed £500 out of the budget,
Yeah,
and there's going to be further conversations via Rich and by yourself to your
yeah,
committee to say
yeah,
what's the breakdown of that, and is there any
yeah.
ideas
Yeah.
about trophy? And I'd welcome their creative thoughts.
But I
on
think-
that, really.
We would ask them to source the trophy.
Yeah,
I'm not volunteering, conscious that we've,
yeah, we-
you know,
we-
Yeah.
we're down to
We'd
just
We'd have to
a minute.
move quickly, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you-
I mean, but we want you to agree with it as well, so that could be a bit tricky. We don't want to choose
I think-
something you don't
I
like.
think if you could come to the chair of this committee and
Yeah,
There's only 4 of us in it. If you just go through the chair and he can keep us all informed, and we can make say yes or no straight away.
Okay.
We'll do it via email. It's a lot quicker.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think that's okay.
you can track me down. Well, you can get the details anyway.
But I think that-
Yeah, I can track it down on Facebook.
Well, I'd say the principle would be that the trophy will acknowledge that it's donated by the Rannon
Yeah.
Parish Council and it's something appropriate for a Harmony show.
Do we want the
Yeah.
logo on it?
Sorry?
Will we want the logo or just literally that?
I don't think it matters. Depends on what it is.
No.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it-
yeah.
I think, yeah. We
And
need
it
to
would-
agree the wording, but we've got the wording. It's just how much space there is there beyond that, isn't it?
Well, I think we should,
See what's
Yes.
on, yes. Well,
I
we're
did
from
wonder
there.
about embroidery actually, so that
Yeah.
you've got an embroidered logo, and then some kind of animal montage.
It used to be quite funky, 860.
It would.
Modern embroidery.
I've just got a friend of mine that lives in Mulday, Sally Wilson, who's at the Royal Academy at the moment. She's in the Society of Graphic Fine Arts, but she's a machine embroiderer.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm sure it's
So
nice.
Yeah.
she could probably do something like this because she does a lot of animal stuff.
Yeah.
I'll send you a couple of pictures of what she does. And
Yeah,
then
well,
see.
if they've got a proposal, then if we've got that
Yeah.
back, I can cast it around people.
Yeah.
Is there anything
Okay,
else we
okay.
need?
Right, I'll get out of the way.
So-
No, I suppose it's just about the grants process. I'll email. I mean, I'm sure you'll be able to find it anyway, but I'll email you the links just in case you can't.
That'd be
If
good.
you get it to me
Just on a-
tomorrow
Grants,
afternoon,
okay.
at the latest, really.
Right. I'll go home and have a look at it now. I'll tackle it fresh.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, like Councillor Harvey says, it doesn't need all that stuff about bank statements.
Mhm.
We will need to see them, but they can come later in the week, and only Councillor Harvey really needs to see those. The
Okay.
committee doesn't. The council doesn't need to see them. So,
Okay.
but I'll
But we've got a committee meeting
I'll send you a
tomorrow
link
night as
anyway,
well,
I've got your
so
email.
but I can get something out. Okay, that's
Yeah,
great.
right.
Nice to
Thanks
see
very
you.
much.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, cheers.
Exactly.
Don't forget the poster.
No, I won't forget that. As I say,
You're attached to it.
It's
Next
going
couple
to
of months.
be hawked round everywhere.
Are you okay taking that down single-handed? Because I know you need to do that.
I will be. I shall take it outside the door though. If you hear me getting wrapped up in it, come and rescue me.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining
Thank you.
us.
That's all right. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, right. So Karen, I didn't realise actually that this was the next agenda item anyway, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
Because for some reason the way my screen's open, I get confused. So the next thing really, we haven't really got anywhere with the Homley Moss transmitter. So
Can we
do
just
you
hold
think
that?
we've just drawn a blank on that? Is that
Yeah, I was,
I was going to say, can we just nail that in the head?
yeah.
yeah,
We could wait for the 75th.
yeah. We can wait for the 75th.
It's more of a
And then
Thanks.
unfortunately on the next item, which was the Duke of Edinburgh, then
thing to move
things
on.
have folded, so unfortunately that isn't common. And then the last one on this, we've got minibus service. Now we actually have had correspondence from Tim Wilshaw, ex-parish councillor. Walshaw. Well, it's I probably best, might as well start with what Tim's basically saying, and I think there is some valid.
Do you want it?
Yeah, well, I can remember sort of what it said anyway. He thinks behind the toilets we could put some sort of poster to say that the parish helps sponsor the minibuses, which is an idea, but it isn't really the idea that we were thinking of the. I think that feels more like a general information point rather than a 17th. I know it's the 40th anniversary, but it doesn't feel very celebratory. It feels more informative. So I'm not questioning the importance of how we brand that, but it may be better that we even branded that at the bus stop itself and said, do you realise this bus that you're about to get on is fronted by us? But it's all about getting permissions, isn't it, to put things on on anything really, whether that's our toilet block or anything on the. So I don't know has everybody seen Tim's email without you reading out the details?
The only person who sees it is Councillor Bellamy.
Well, sure.
I saw it earlier. Yeah, I think that, I mean, let's be honest, we've now got notice board on the other side of the toilets. So we can potentially design something to put in there about the minibus if we want to raise awareness of it. I'm not quite sure if a member of the public was suggesting putting a sign on the back of the toilets, which would be opposite the bus station. But I think that's difficult because to be legible from where you're waiting for the bus. It would need to be very big.
And there's cars parked in front of it.
Yes, and I think, I mean, we had a discussion about marking the 40th anniversary, and then COVID's rather got in the way, because not that many people have been choosing to use public transport or have been encouraged to use public transport until recently. So I still think there's an opportunity for us to mark the length of time that we've been celebrating the minibus, but I still, it feels to me, yes, it's unfortunate we've missed the 40th, but it feels like something we can do, and we were thinking about doing with the Climate Emergency Committee, about, because they've got a campaign that's started, which is called It's Not Far, Leave the Car. And there's an opportunity for the transport, because there's a transport group that's part of the Climate Emergency Committee, to then work with Stots buses to raise awareness, because what we talked about probably a year and a half since now was having some sort of subsidised journey, so it's like 40p for a ticket.
Yeah.
But obviously we haven't been able to encourage that at the moment, because people aren't being encouraged to get on, to travel around and to get on buses. So it's not really been the right time. So I think in the event, it may not be a celebration of the anniversary when we do something, but I think actually the best way to do it is through the drive of transport, of saying this is a service for the community, but it's also helping the climate emergency. And I think we'd probably make more progress rather than this committee trying to do a separate anniversary event, just encouraging the climate emergency committee to keep remembering the role of the bus, because I think Stots would probably be, whilst they're, you know, we do support it, we don't pay for all of it, and we don't want some sort of debate about, oh, well, you only pay X% of the cost. It's more the opportunity to raise a bit of awareness.
When I emailed, because I thought that we would have paid, when we've done it before and they did a similar thing, I thought we would have paid something towards it, but Stots said no, they basically subsidised it all themselves. We just provided the cake. That's what happened last time. So they were very much we'll subsidise it.
I mean, it feels to. Sorry, I'm quick to finish. Just that maybe, and I know we're going into the summer and things are starting to open up, but it feels to me as if probably next spring, when hopefully everything is feeling completely normal, then that's the opportunity to really do a push to get people to try and raise awareness of public transport, people by then hopefully will feel comfortable using it. Perhaps nobody will be feeling the need to wear masks by then or whatever, and it feels like then we could really do a push on, look at this community transport that's actually the parish council is helping drive forward. And sort of, I feel we've kind of missed the boat now with the anniversary, which isn't really our fault, it's just how COVID's happened. Right. So I think it needs to move into a, let's get people to make the most of the minibus and recognise that we fund it, rather than let's celebrate its anniversary.
I agree with that.
Anyway, sorry. Rambled.
Yeah, I can concur that. I mean, to me, the point's gone. Last year, I mean, I know COVID's ruined everything like that. I think you're right. I think it's an opportunity for the environment to get involved and do something more practical. And I think if we can just like back them up with that, I think that'd be more of a practical thing this committee could do for this town. I mean, realistically, I mean, you don't really say, wait, you could say, we could look for the 45th or even the 50th would be a better thing to look at, to tell you the truth. So, I mean, going to what Councillor Warshaw said there, in a sense, I mean, we could ask Scots to put a plaque up saying this route is sponsored by, so people get on the bus, do see it.
But I don't think it's there. Well, one, I'm assuming the buses they probably flip around different routes and use them. They can't. I know we seem to have the same driver that comes past my house with an empty bus, because that age group that tend to use those small buses are very people that aren't travelling, and even no matter what happens on the 19th, they'll remain cautious, won't they? Yeah. But I'm not sure how easy it would be for them to even do that, and equally they don't control the bus stops, do they?
I mean, it's an idea, because I mean, it's a good point what Councillor Warshaw is, Mr Warshaw, I guess you're used to saying it now, but it's a lot of money that the council gives them that a lot of people don't know. Yeah. And I think we need to do something now. either put something on the bus stop saying this is partially funded by, or I know it's not fully, I don't know what percentage it is we fund, but people in the community need to know that where some of the money's going, and I know we do put it in the paper once a year.
It's a lot of money, isn't it? It's like,
So I think,
it's like, is it like 18,000 a year, something like that?
so I think if we could just get work with Scots and say, even if they just put like the driver on that run that day puts a little plaque up or something saying, this run is sponsored by, or health sponsored, something like that, so people who get the bus can see that it's partially funded by the parish council.
Can I suggest, partly because I'm aware that we want to hand over the new clerk and other things, we've got full council, new committee, and also this isn't really, this agenda item is about it being its 40th, so I think we all agreed that the 40th is sort of gone, but I think we also agree it's a missed opportunity to promote the fact that we are funding that service. We need to think how we do that, whether that's a permanent bus stop sign or leaflet on the seat or plaque in the window. But anything we agree to do, we're creating another job for Rich who hasn't got time to do it. So are we better just to defer it till the next one?
Well, I think it's not on the agenda, so we need to defer it anyway to the next. But I'm just saying, I think we do need to.
Yeah.
Tim's got a point that it's not advertised,
absolutely.
and we need to look at some solutions. I mean, if you could just, on the off chance, ask Scott, is there any opportunity we can do that for the next meeting, and then we've got something to work with, if that's okay, Richard.
Okay.
It's just that I think he's right. We need to do something. How many years have we been saying this? We need to do something to let people know we can sponsor this. We've never done anything, have we? So maybe it's just an opportunity to do something.
Okay, that's fine. And just for the record, Tim also then further emailed about issues about bus routes and timings and Honley, but that is a service provision conversation. But certainly there's no point of us having a conversation about which way the buses should go. So, but I'm not saying that's not a valid point, but again, that's something that...
Can we pass that to service provision then?
Yeah. So I think that we can forward that email on to the chair of service provision, really.
Which will be next.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Could I just mention under anniversaries, just for information, that there's the Queen's Platinum
It's a big anniversary of the Queen each year.
next year.
The Treebly.
The Treebly, yes, the Treebly. Is it is it on the agenda? Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
I don't know which
Apologies.
Is it on the new agenda, not the old
It's on the
agenda?
new agenda, not the old agenda.
I haven't got it on the 20th.
Oh, sorry, it's right at the bottom.
Is it like the last item on the agenda?
Oh, it was about the beacons.
Well, the beacon.
Oh, sorry, were you not going to say
No, I wasn't going to say about the beacons.
Oh,
I was
right,
going to
right.
say about the Treebly. Just to say that.
Is that, I heard Charles say it, so I'm assuming
No,
that's
it's
what it
Treebly.
is.
Yeah, it's about planting a tree. I've just for awareness, I've spoken to through the Climate Emergency Committee. We're looking at whether we can use the Treebly as an opportunity to do some, celebrate the Platinum Jubilee through some tree planting / providing wildflower seeds to all the children, all the children in all the schools in the valley. But that will be through the Climate Emergency Committee, because it's a good opportunity to connect the two things. But I just wanted to make sure pubs and comms were aware that the Climate Emergency Committee is looking at doing something for the Treebly. It's nothing to do with the beacon, but it's just important that we're aware of that.
But also, I mean, it might be worth to note that if we want to run a competition next year, or if people want to apply for a grant for a party or anything like that, we need to put it on an upcoming agenda for.
Yeah, so the next pubs and comms agenda.
Yeah, so can we do that, Richard, please?
Yeah.
And it looks like the conversation on regarding this Treebly, because it was Charles that used the phrase when he was planting the tree.
Yeah.
But they're already saying that it could be a shrub or it could be something else, it could be a wildflower garden. So I think I'm sure more details will come out, won't they, from the palace about what they mean by that. But it seems like they're already wanting people to.
Well, what I would say is I've spoken to Michelle, and she's
and that's really good.
the Climate Emergency Committee is starting to
Excellent, that's great. So at the moment we don't need to do anything about
that particular one.
But we'll discuss the beacon later. So item 8 is an update on plaques. Have you all seen Richard's update on this? Because there's been
Yes, it looks quite
looks like
nice.
that one's not moving. Basically, the first one on the toilets. Is that what we agree, or do we think we should risk the We're happy to
I
leave the
just
plaque.
comment? It's me who said that it's squiffy. I still maintain
It
it's
is,
slightly
it is
squiffy, but
It is
and
squiffy.
it isn't quite in the right place. But now it's there, and given what's said, I think we just leave it.
Okay.
It is squiffy, definitely.
I didn't zoom in on the photograph too.
No, you can't
No,
really
if you
tell.
stand there,
You can't really
it's
tell on the photograph. You need to go. You need to go. And
I think
see
for
it.
the time being, can I just caveat that with the fact that my understanding is Kurt Lees, and this is through Service Provision or CAS, can't remember, are going to move that needle bin out the way. So maybe in the future, depending on what happens, whether we want to do anything else with that wall, it might be then that the plaque may need to be
Repositioned.
But for the time being,
Yeah, because we
I'm
might
happy
put
for it to
something
stay
else
where
on
it
the
is.
top of the
Yes,
damage, yeah.
but I'm happy for it to stay as it is.
Okay, so we'll
Just
Yeah.
unfortunate.
if I haven't know your concerns, we'll look at acceptance. of
And the
it.
sign looks good as well. On the side of it, you know, the notice
And
board.
has anybody checked the squiffiness of the plaque that's been affixed to the Civic or?
It looks
Looks,
okay.
looks
That
really
looks
nice.
good, yeah.
Looks good now.
It looks really good actually because it's quite prominent above the bench, so
It looks lovely.
it does fit well, doesn't it?
Where it should be.
Thanks for that.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's.
Well, that's where we asked for it to go, but it looks nice.
But it's worked out quite well with the bench there above it because it's the parish bench as well, isn't it? So,
Sorry, Jason, I'm just having a drink.
it's not with it.
Okay, so we may have another plaque which is going to report on.
Oh yeah, I emailed Leander who made the other two practice, expecting them to get back to me and saying how much it was going to be. Unfortunately, they didn't. So I'm basically just going off last year's figures. So the price of the plaque, you may remember, was £310 each. We then paid £160 for them to make this kind of crest, but we don't need to pay that again because basically they keep that and they use that to make the little Own Valley Parish Council crest. So, assuming prices might be the same as they were in when this this is, it's kind of mid 2020, I think. So this would be about £328 for the plaque, not including VAT, which obviously we don't pay anyway. Do you think we go ahead and order it now, or do we wait until we definitely?
Can I ask, would we want it to be ready for a great unveil and key handover, or would we? Because that could happen quite quickly, but equally it might take forever. But we can't put the plaque up until we own it. But do we want to be ready to?
Yeah,
install
that's
that?
kind of what I'm asking really is, when we get an actual date that we can put on a plaque, do we then go straight away or do we wait?
That makes more sense to me.
What, to get the plaque?
No, what we should just said that wait till we get a date when it's going to happen, and then we can get hold of the plaque with the date on. Like we got one with the Civic Hall saying on this date it happened. The official.
Oh, they dated those plaques?
Yes.
Oh, right, well in that case,
I think we need the date.
I think it'd be too high risk to get it made in advance because I
Yeah,
wouldn't be sure that something doesn't happen.
yeah, so I think till we get we know when the official handover is going to be literally then hand it up
Yeah.
and order it.
How did we sort of get the dates of the previous ones? Was there an actual date where we actually do a signing thing? Is there actually something as official as that? With
Yeah.
the toilets or
It was,
the
I
civic?
think it was the handing over of the keys.
Right, okay.
So it was the date that, because there was a picture for this building. I think were you chair at the time or was Kath?
Yeah, it was myself,
And
Council-
you and Kath and
Donna and was Judith Patrick then.
yeah, we're all downstairs
Yeah.
signing, but that was the date I think we used.
But we could approve expenditure.
Yeah, I think
that's
if we
the point
approve
I was making.
expenditure, otherwise we'll have to wait till November.
And then, because obviously the payment process is completely different. But as long as I can just say to them, okay, we've got this date, and
That makes sense to me. I mean, get it ready to go.
okay.
So as soon as we get the confirmation of the date, then it's bang it instead of just waiting for the next committee meeting. Goes,
Yeah.
So should we say up to, so that's 328?
So should we say up to
Up to
350 just in case.
or should we say up to 400?
Well,
Okay.
let's say up to
Yeah.
400 because I'm not sure about costs going up, and obviously if we don't spend 400, we don't spend 400. But,
Well, we
What's
asked to
the,
approve up to 400.
Can you remember, Rachel, what can we authorise up to anyway? We are asking back to the committee anyway. Is it 500?
Up to 500, yeah.
But should we authorise, well I propose we authorise up to 400 and Rich to negotiate. Are we happy with that?
And the wording should be the same.
So be,
Yeah, no, I've got the,
Yeah, it's exactly the
I've
same.
got
I'm just
pictures,
reading the
yeah.
others. It's the same wording, isn't it? And then it'll just be
Yeah.
on the library.
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Makes sense.
moving down. Pavement signs in use. So, and is he happy for that?
But he quite liked it, he didn't like the base, it came with a very heavy plastic base, so he made himself a more portable base out of wood. I've not seen it in action yet, but...
Okay, and then the sign at the rear of the toilets, so we need to think, is this sign really big enough and do we need to move that sign to the front and make another bigger one? Has anybody got any strong I've not actually physically, I have seen it, I can't say I've really got a strong view on it because I've not looked at it that closely.
I've looked at it. I mean, I suppose it is a little bit smaller than what. I mean, it's difficult to imagine how big something's going to look. But the more I thought about it, it's still very clear, and actually, I think it's quite subtle. Oh, I know. Yeah, I know, but it's on a building now. So it looks big there.
I haven't seen it.
No, it's.
So you can see it.
And I think from walking around, where the bus
You
stops
can see
are,
it.
you can see what it is. And actually, given we're in a conservation area, I think it is sufficient for the purposes of what it's trying to do, which is tell you from the rear that that is the public toilets. And if you think about like the what are they called? Finger post things, they're quite small. The only question I would have is whether, obviously you can see it from when you're coming from like Pitchdrome direction, because that's the wall it's on, is whether we do want something on the front. Because actually there's nothing on the front
There is
that says
nothing.
it's public
That's
toilets.
what John says, is that there's nothing there. If you're a stranger, you don't
Yeah.
know what it is.
And I wonder if we could also have one, which could be, to be fair, could be exactly the same design,
I was just thinking exactly.
which would go on the frontage. And I'm just, unfortunately, this image just of the toilets.
Checking if there's enough space to put it on the
Get a picture of the
toilet
toilet,
in the flat.
of the front of the toilet.
Oh, the front of the toilet, yeah.
The one
Because
with
near the defibrillator, to the right of the defibrillator.
It needs to be on the other side of the door there, doesn't it?
Are you on about the other side?
No, it's the other
It'd be
side.
better on that side there, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's the shop side, isn't it?
Yeah, which is what,
We need to be on that side.
Yeah. I think it can be on the right hand side. There is space there because there is a there's a cigarette bin, unless that's been taken down.
Yeah,
And then there's a defibrillator, and then I think there is the opportunity to put the sign next
Yeah.
to it. But
Well,
we
you
can
see the
agree the
wa-
principle and then
And the
look
water
at
thing as well,
allocation.
yeah.
Yeah, but the water thing's set back because it's where
Yeah.
the other where that
So-
old said.
So do we think, if the existing sign, whoever made it, we could just ask them, they should have the artwork and everything, they could just
Yeah,
make it.
it was under 30 quid.
It was
wasn't
really cheap.
It was really cheap. Yeah.
Well, I think if John's convinced that one would fit in the gap and he can install it, we just order another one of those then.
Do we need to, as you said though, from one coming down from the hill, and then one at the front?
Well, it's good. I mean, it depends whether we want one on every side of the building, isn't it? But I would have thought you want one facing the bus stops and Pitchdrome River, which is
Yeah.
fine, and we've covered that. There's a question about whether we want one on that end wall that you see when you're coming from Crown Bottom, possibly, because you could have it on three sides, but maybe that's a bit overkill.
Problem we have on this on the
Then there's the
Pitchdrome
back.
side is that if anybody wants to take that wall out, it's going to, you know, because there's at one point wanted to open the wall, didn't they, to make it like a dispenser. If that happens, we're going to lose the sign there, aren't we?
Sorry, which wall?
Am I thinking the wrong place?
The one that you can see from the Pitchdrome is just so you're looking at the back wall of the
Oh,
toilet.
right, yeah.
So it no longer says, for a long time it said ladies, gents, and then it just said
Yeah.
gents.
But we definitely need one up front.
Yeah, maybe, should we just put one on the front?
I think, yeah.
I think
Because
that'd
then
be
you
enough.
see it as you drive in, you see it if you walk past Homeside and go
I
on
think
and come
that's-
that way. And I think
Yeah, I
that's
think that'd be
sufficient.
enough. Yeah.
Can we, should we agree the principle of getting it and then location to be
Yeah.
finalised?
Finalised,
with-
yeah.
So Rich will liaise with John about location installation, make sure there's definitely space for
A bit risky.
A5, A4, or whatever the size of that one is. He knows how big it is because he can see the other one.
Yeah.
Put it up.
Tell you what, on the way home tonight, I'll have a quick look. And see.
Don't look at that skew if one though.
It irks me every time I walk past.
I don't notice it now when I drive past it more.
It's only a tiny bit out, but it
It
is
is
obvious.
obvious.
It is obvious.
Only when you're looking. But yeah.
So, but we are, as in the next agenda item, we are getting there with our presence, aren't we?
Yeah, which is important.
Yeah, I think
Progress
so.
on our notice boards. So,
Slowly but surely.
so Rich is starting to use the notice board that's in front of the Civic Hall. It's got some content in it.
I've seen people looking at it, getting all excited about it. Some badminton players the other night.
Well, I always
No,
look
that's
at when I go to other towns, and whenever I see some old faded wooden box which says parish council or whatever, I always look at and they often are quite dull and unloved really, and so it's to have something that looks a little bit fresh and is up to date. And
Yeah, it's good.
so has anybody got any comments to?
I think it's
things that perhaps should. Is how much space have we got left in there, Richard?
Oh, well, as I've said, there's not much because I've had to put the account stuff. I did them A5 just to, so that's why I ended up doing it, because I did them A5 size, because if I did them in A4 it would have taken up nearly the whole board, so they're going to be up until something like the 10th of August or something like that.
Right.
And then basically we have, I can put there's room for that, and I think probably about another.
Could or should we put up who's chairing what committees? Because
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
know then the committee structure and membership.
There's a bit more space than we had when I was originally doing it, because there were bits taken up with Zoom, Zoom related stuff, which obviously we won't need now, because we were going to put all, how to get this kind of Zoom contact. So there'll be lots of little bits of space that I can fill. So
There's always things going on each month where we could just put like a monthly thing on, a monthly bulletin or
yeah, and then I'll keep playing with it until there's some sort of sense to it, I suppose.
Yeah. So happy to leave that with
Can I-
Richard.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can I just ask a question? Are all the councillors, I don't know if this mirrors what's on the website, but
just one
are all those telephone numbers on the website?
I mean, I got them all from the website, yes.
Okay.
Do we need to check if they're all right?
So there's obviously a number of people there who are just contactable via the parish council. They've not got their own. They haven't got their own numbers on the website.
That's a man number. People do seem to contact me through my mobile, so it must be on the website somewhere. My mobile number.
So is that the
House number.
via 687460?
Yeah, that's us. That's the parish council.
Because there aren't that many people who've got that. That's all.
There's.
I don't know, but if it mirrors what's on the website, then that's fine. The other thing I just had was not trying to be pedantic, but I know some local folk can be. It says obviously 2019 to 23, but some of those councillors haven't been councillors since 2019. So I just wonder if it needs to say until 2023,
Yeah. Okay.
up to
Yeah, no,
2023.
makes sense, yeah.
So I know it's a bit.
It can confuse people.
I just think it ought to say that, just so that our new councillors aren't assumed to have been there in 2019.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think it looks really good. I like the fact that you've got pictures and arrows. Although some people have changed by it, haven't they? They've all aged somewhat. It's really neat.
No,
Well, do you know what?
Copy of it.
I know it sounds daft, this, but we probably need another photograph from Councillor Dixon, Tom Dixon, because he's got the chains on. People might think he's the chairman.
Was that a picture of him with chains on?
That's what was taken when he was chair. Like, yeah, so
That's the photo you've got on the website.
although it's just we keep saying how many years now that we need to update the photographs. So
But for now, we've got something, and people.
oh yeah, no, we got something. But I'm just saying like things like that where someone looking at us as a stranger, thinking, oh, you must be chairman. Because these
Well,
are
I think for the time being.
If the time being, it's all right,
Yeah.
maybe we need to in the next year or something just try and update some photographs of things like that. So it
I think
doesn't.
we did ask people. I think Councillor Hobley asked people if they wanted to update them. I don't
People aren't great at it.
remember.
I think, but Well, I know I've got a picture of my picture of
Chicken.
vitamins, but I think in some ways better than like what you see at a doctor's practice, to actually have something that looks people in different settings. I prefer that. But
Yeah,
some
yeah, I
people
think-
like
yeah, I think as
cultures,
well.
don't they? But I think anyway, it's
Well, you've got your personality in your photograph, haven't you? Which is nice.
Tim's got
I don't know what my photograph says about me then.
Now just starts outside his house. Anyway, we're happy to leave future amendment. Rich is going to amend this,
Yeah.
which will populate the board as.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think the other thing I was going to say is the Climate Emergency Committee again has done an update poster on progress they've made, which
Yeah, good point.
would be quite good to go on there. It's like progress on its action plan, basically. I think as and when time allows, that would be nice if that was on there and outside the toilet,
Yeah.
because it just gives people an understanding of what's.
I mean, I think that's an A3 size, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
it is.
probably I can probably put it up before that. So it'll probably be.
Yeah,
I'll probably
I mean, it's nice to think
switch that around.
change. I
Yeah.
suppose, but, yeah.
Very good.
And I think, so I was just going to add as well, I like the fact that it's the bit from the newspaper as well. That's good.
Yeah.
It's nice to see. And the old pictures are great.
So in a similar vein, we've got another notice board, which is it currently got that welcome home or welcome back with the flower thing on it.
Yeah, that's on your.
So we've got the other notice board outside the toilets, which is more of a community notice board than our venue, isn't it really? And I don't. Well, I'm not sure what. I mean, obviously we've got the Holland show now coming up, but I'm not fully up to speed with who is actually planning. I know there's some scarecrow trails and other things around, isn't there? But
Well, there's Art Week at the moment.
Yeah, of course.
Then there's the Arts Festival, which actually is the same weekend as Omni Show, I think. Pretty sure it's 17th to the 19th of September. And I'm sure we gave them some money.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if they've got something that we can
Yeah.
print out, or if they've got print out.
And is the folk festival doing some virtual?
they're doing
thing?
an online thing in. They pushed it back to September, haven't they? Again, I've seen.
Squashing in
I won't be quoted on the detail, but I know they are. Oh no, sorry, that's on. They've done an online thing. They've just released a CD. And were they going to do something in September? I can't remember. I could ask them if you want me to. If you want to, let's me to ask about it. But I mean, I think the obvious thing is to go right to first is the things that we funded, isn't it?
Yep.
So how easy is it to work out who we funded?
Well, we've got a
that
list
be?
of all the things we've given grants to, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not difficult.
Just ask them if they've got like,
Yeah.
and it'd be easier, I suppose, if they, well, they'll hopefully they'll have already had their stuff printed and produced, won't they? And if it's a poster, they can access our board. So how does that work in practice? Would they have to get it here and then you trot down there with a key and put it in? And
I suppose so. Yeah.
I think that makes more sense that everything comes here to go in there because we don't want to give key access to other people. Yeah,
yeah, no, I'm just asking if that feels onerous at the moment, but I guess it's not on fire yet, is it? So
Well, yeah. We haven't really had any events to put in. So I mean, like I said, at the moment, it's got a map of Home Firth, the kind of the step map for people in wheelchairs. I can't remember what else I put on, but it's been quite a struggle to fill it really.
So
well,
do you
don't
have
we
a
need to put like we have to tell us the AGM next week, don't we? In the not have a thing to put in till next Monday anyway.
Well, it depends what you
Yeah.
think the purpose of that notice board is, because it was supposed to be more community events than our.
Well, it is a community thing behind it. It's an AGM meeting.
Well, it's at the annual, it's the annual.
That's what I mean, so maybe we should put just something there to say that. Just put where it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because it's not the usual place, is it?
If there's space.
Could we do that?
Yeah.
All I'm thinking of is that people know it's the AGM,
Yeah.
but do they know it's at the Hades Band?
Yeah.
So it might just say that, it was just supposed to say 7:30, blah, blah, blah. Or 7 o'clock at Hades Band.
Yeah, I mean, we could do. I'm conscious that information is more on the board here, isn't it? When the next meeting is, and that presumably it does say Heyditch, is it? Might be worth checking that because we've got a list of forthcoming
Yeah,
meetings.
I do appreciate that. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
because I'm just thinking like because there's a space there. Why don't we just use the opportunity because it's in a different place than what it normally is, just as a one-off this year. You know, just to say like it is at the van, but is it, so you can't say that they never missed the information. It's there in front of you for everybody.
I can't remember whether I put Heyditch or not. I think I might have done.
Have you got the
We'll
capacity?
look on the way out then.
Yeah. Well, that's not fault. I'm thinking.
No, that's a fair point.
I mean, what would be really nice is if we have like, next meeting is, and that means that someone's got to replace it every week. So that's not
Yeah.
necessarily what we want to do.
And if you put our full schedule of meetings, approving a month or 3 months worth, it's still a fair bit of space, isn't it? In that
Yeah.
board?
It does.
I think it's nicer if it's, to me, that notice board is not really about our
Yeah, it's
processes.
business.
It's about
Yeah.
the town and the fact
about,
we're doing what we're doing to support the community within the town,
Yeah,
rather
I
than.
agree.
Whereas I think the one downstairs is more about what we're doing and where our meeting. And you're quite right; it's really important people know that we're in Heyditch, not here for that meeting. But I think we're going to end because if we end up duplicating what's outside here, outside the toilets, I think the notable out the toilets. A lot of people who use the toilets are locals, yes, but there are also lots of visitors. And if it's a bit boring, then that wasn't really the intention. It was.
I'm just thinking, no, I mean, just for this one off because it is literally as a because there's a space there which is not. I'm just trying to think of filling that space so it looks a bit smarter for a week. But yeah, I get your point.
Because I think colourful notices are more interesting. Anyway, I think the main thing is to check that Heyditch is on the sign downstairs, and then I think we just leave it to
You'll chase some stuff up.
Rich.
Is there anything on that board that says, you sometimes see this in notice boards, to use this notice, if you're running a community event, you want to use this notice board, please contact.
No,
It's fairly obvious that it's ours because it says at the top, doesn't it?
that's a fair point, yeah.
But what you don't want is Slimming World and everybody else that's running
Yeah.
ringing you up saying. So it's just trying to find that. I mean, for now, I'd chase up the obvious ones that we know about and
Yeah.
funded. But if we do find that we've still got space or it's empty, we could put a little thing at the bottom saying. But I think we'd have to be really clear. This is for community-run, charity-type style.
No.
Because it's not commercial.
No, I think it's got to be things that we sponsor or things like that because it can get. Otherwise, you're going to cause problems in the long run. I think it's something we've got.
The UFO.
When even if you went to if Cafe 100 said because we want to put a thing in Cafe 100, we put money into there, so that'd be quite welcome to do that.
Yeah.
But anybody else, I think no, it's
Yeah.
you open a dodgy can of worms there.
Okay, right. Moving on to press coverage. So we've got quite a few copies. We've not met for a while, so we've been sent the coverage that we've had in February, April, May and June.
Do you know I've not been able to get a paper for a long time.
I'm placing the colour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see it in my dog food shop.
I think we got it from Morrison last week, but it was the first one I've had for about 3 months. Because normally Council Bellamy get them, but because of this, they've not been getting them.
Yeah. So is there any comments on, I mean, thanks particularly to Rachel for pulling together some of this content, working with Rich on it.
I was disappointed that strategic priorities that was a bit of a waste of a picture, wasn't it?
I emailed it as well, it's just come out, obviously,
Yeah,
even in the
blotchy,
original,
really.
it was not. And I thought they would have almost checked, got a proof copy to sign off and read.
Yeah.
But
I think we've had quite good coverage actually, because we've had more than just
Yeah.
the parish council news. We've had other
It's
articles.
got a big feature on the water.
I mean, I think they're so struggling for news, aren't they? I think they will. They're being a lot more free and easy with what they publish.
Yeah. So, have we got any thought? Have we had this conversation online about what's in the next one, or have you done it, Rachel?
I haven't done it yet, no.
Did you say you'd do it?
Probably. So usually end up doing.
Well, I mean, the obvious one for the next is the new chairs of the committees.
Well, I think what was the deadline again, Rich?
It says second on here, but I'm not sure if that's their print deadline or our deadline.
Because there were two things. There's about
That's the issue, I think. I think that's the issue date.
because there's the parish council news bit, and then there's the annual report. And we agreed that we'd delay the annual report because we need to ask. In fact, this committee needs to flag it up at full council for chairs to give their input, so that because the chair of each committee writes, often in conjunction with others, namely Rich, writes some input for the annual report.
Right.
And that's where we then have to publish our accounts, and that's the opportunity to say this is the new chair and old chair. But that said, we've got this month, which must be coming up in the next few days.
So we're definitely leaving it till September, are we, for the annual
for the
report?
annual thing,
Okay.
yeah.
Which is what it says on them.
Well, we've got the clerk. Obviously, we've got a new clerk we
A
need
new
to
clerk,
introduce, and also the two new councillors. I know you've done it sort of, but what we've done in the past years is, are they done little reports themselves? Or?
They've got a little feature on them both, haven't they? And,
I don't think it was a huge. Yeah, they were a bit short of space. I don't know what they said.
It was a bit on Facebook, wasn't there, about introducing them a bit more.
Yeah, I think that, they can obviously do a little biography.
I think we've done that. Each council's always done. I think
That's what it's got on Facebook, but we can easily do that on there as well.
Yeah, I just think it's
Just
because
one month and then one the next.
yeah, it's just, I think it just keeps a tradition of people knowing who the council is and what they do, what they're into. It's just because not everybody's on Facebook.
What? So sorry. When does the next month's need to be written?
You were talking about the August edition, or
I suppose it must be the August edition. Yeah.
Well, the August, that's the publication date is the 2nd of August, and it's normally.
But have we missed the July?
July's
July.
gone.
No, that is the July one. The July one is on the 2nd of August. They've moved the publication.
Oh, right. So we're not 3 days off needing some input.
No, that's why I was saying. That's why I was saying.
Right.
Do you want us to do the annual report in the August edition rather than September? But no,
So no, let's do that in September. But we still need some input for the.
So going from fast history, it'll take a long time to get every chairman to do the report.
Well, you never get it all on a part.
It was quite good last year. I think Liz was. She got out there and
So now there was a lot of new chairmen and they might be more willing to get
Yeah, I think.
quite. I mean, we've had problems with local chairmen where you have to do it yourself, Rachel.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, we actually mentioned a new clerk.
Yeah.
We've given a name in the previous one. Do we know if Jen's happy to have a photo of herself taken and used?
Well, let's wait. Should we wait until she's actually started?
When she started?
August the 16th.
Oh, right, so as long as that, right, okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of trying to get some copy in the next 2 weeks, which is what we're talking about,
Yeah.
what have we got then other than using one of those
3 weeks.
mini
Well,
profiles on other councils?
Well, we'll be able to say who the new chair and vice chair are.
Yeah.
We can say something about the naming plan because that's been gone through the examination successfully.
All right, that's no news.
It's this next stage, but it's moving towards the referendum now. Then, well, potentially we will have anything else that's on the full council agenda, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's awarding of potential grants to Civic Hall and their potentially Honley show. I think there's some grant awarding that we can mention, and if it's approved, there's the changing of our committees, which is an opportunity then to confirm to people how they apply for a grant. The proposal is to disband CAS compliant.
Yeah.
Service provision. So I think there's probably quite a bit to be said there.
Right, okay. Yeah.
I'm happy to, after that full council, put together some articles with that.
That makes sense.
Good. Excellent. I'm doing this thumbs up because I do that on Zoom meetings, so you don't need to do it. Just goes well done, Rachel.
She's done it before.
I never did that before Zoom. Everybody does it.
Right. Okay. So we
And then
So-
September, I think there can be the annual report, but also there can still be the
Yeah.
parish council news, and that's an opportunity definitely to put in a
yeah.
picture of Jen,
Mm.
and she can
Yeah.
provide a bit of information about herself as she wishes.
Good. Right. Let's move on to the next item, which is all about the website and social media, which is continuing to update things and get things all sorted. Well, consider any additions to the website. Yeah, I think it's generally a lot better. It's a lot more, in terms of since I know after what it looks like now, it's much more accessible. I actually use it as a resource to go and find things and things like that. So it's,
Sorry, Doug, I can only say another 15 minutes.
right.
Okay.
Well, is there anything pressing that people want to change on the website? We're happy with it as it is for the minute.
I would suggest when we ask people to write reports to their committees, that they should also take the opportunity to review their
Yes,
page
definitely.
and advise if any information on there is
Yeah.
no longer relevant or accurate.
Yeah.
Good thinking, yeah.
Because the chairs of the committees are probably best placed to comment on their own areas.
Yep.
So I would suggest the message that asks for input is: are we asking Rich to send that out, or are we?
I think, yeah, you need to send that as an email to each chair to keep it,
Okay.
makes more sense that.
So is that all right, Rich? If we also
Yeah.
mention it?
Yeah. Okay.
Documented then,
Yeah.
And again on Facebook, again there's more content going on there.
Do you think, people are, certainly the Honley lot are rather more friendly than the Holmford lot, I've found, the community groups. You don't get quite so much sniping as you do on the...
It used to be the other way around.
So they're definitely, as it said in the comments there, they're definitely very grateful in Honley, thinking that they're being recognised and they're getting grants awarded. I think they feel like in the past they've been a bit neglected, so I think that's quite a positive thing for us to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Okay. Well, and hopefully, as you said, you're hoping that if, depending on what happens with Saturday times, then you'll have a bit more time to...
Yeah, I mean, my attitude, so I know this isn't entirely related to the pros and cons. I mean, Liz was much more focused on, because I've come from a work where there was always much more work than time. I'm a bit more used to dealing with that kind of thing, really. But from the other side, I think if I did have the opportunity to just do more of the just connecting with stuff over Facebook and stuff like that, it would be quite useful. It's just something that I don't do a lot of, because obviously there's other stuff that I've got to do that's fundamentally more important, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's something to review in the autumn, isn't it? Once Jen's underway and whatever staffing decisions may or may not be made at that point.
Okay. Well, so we'll put that down for... Well, it can bring out past and forward, can't you? So all three of these actually for the next agenda. And then we've got YouTube as well, which obviously we continue to push content out onto there, which will now be, I assume by the lack of any camera and audio recording for this meeting, Rich.
Yeah, and like I say, it is a right faff. It is a lot harder to do than it is just putting a Zoom recording, because I have to do sort of 3 or 4 separate processes. I have to take the audio, edit the audio, create a title page, edit the title page and the audio together to make a video, and then upload it to YouTube. So it's a right faff. What used to take is basically one process or 2 processes or 3 processes, is now 5 processes.
Yeah.
So it's...
And I bet the viewing figures have dropped through the floor as well if people just...
I think that's... Well, it's probably gone down from 15 to 6, but yeah.
Okay, well, but we've made a commitment to publish anyway, haven't we? So but that if that is an issue, we need to... I can't think of a quick one. There's a quick one that works out.
Well, I think we probably need to, as and when time allows, and it feels as if this is going to be in the autumn, I think we need to work with the Deputy Clerk on how we can make better use of the equipment that we have, and if there's more equipment that's needed to supplement it to allow us to go back to the sort of trial of having camera and audio in a way that's less onerous for you, but also offers a better solution for everybody. But I'm not going to suggest that we try and do that now, because I recognise that Rich is a one-man band at the minute until Jen's on board, and obviously she needs to get underway.
I do think it would be good if we did get back to a point where we were producing videos, you know.
Because I think it should be possible, but we just need to work through. But we need the time to test
Councillor
it.
Carray's lent me an upgraded microphone speaker, haven't you? I haven't actually trialled it yet.
I don't know if it's any better, but
you know, there is potential. But yeah, if we just...
Could we maybe take an action though for the
we've actually skipped.
maybe the chair and deputy clerk chair to work with the deputy clerk.
We've actually, this is a segue because the next item is the very thing we're talking about, which is the recording of council meetings and committee.
Sorry, that's my mistake. That's why.
No, well, it's fine because we actually started with. So when we said consider trial, because that was the action really on this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're basically saying that the newly elected chair and vice chair work with Rich to take this forward.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think it will be, you know, trial and error and seeing what works really. Yeah. Okay, bear with Jason must be close to time as well. So in terms of the BT saga, so are we any further? Did he come on the 6th? Oh no, that's tomorrow, isn't it?
They're coming tomorrow. I've spoke to the listed buildings woman. I sent some photographs, hoping that she would get back to me, but she hasn't. So I'm a bit stuck really about what I say to the engineer tomorrow. So I might have to just put him off. I'll try ringing her tomorrow to. Her idea is that it comes from the back, kind of connects, jumps, and then comes up. I think we've got cables coming in already somewhere.
Should it come on the new fire exit?
I did look on the new plans to make sure that it wasn't going to be compromised by the fire exits, but that seems most likely. I don't know how they put it in the front with it, because they made a right hash of the cables that have come in through the front of the office, which makes me wonder whether they considered the listed building status when they did it, because it's a hole about that big that's just drilled straight through the wall. So I won't be telling her that.
But you're as on with it as you can be, basically. I wish you all the best with trying to get it sorted. Is that all right? Yeah. There's only a few more items. Annual awards. Do we? We need to consider whether we think.
I think we need to delay them again. Personally, I think there's too much stuff going on as last year. I think we need to delay it.
I think the only thing I'm conscious of is there've been 2 community champion nominations that I've had sent through to me. And I don't know whether we just defer those for the time being. They've come obviously from councillors. And just, I agree with what Jason just said. I still think we're not really in the place, and I think we'd be better just wait for now. And I think Tidy Trader was all about the external appearance of businesses, and I think at the moment people are more worried about the viability of the internal bit than the external appearance. Actually, as it happens, there's lots of great new businesses that have popped up, and there'll be lots of prospective nominations, I would have thought, but I'm not quite sure I see the value of it at the minute.
I think the community champion, maybe because we did agree, was it last year or the year before, that we could, instead of doing it in a big, we could do it monthly, or we don't have to wait to a big meeting, we could just do it and do it that way. So maybe we could look at that in September and think, do we want, or when our next meeting is, if the COVID's relaxed, then we can consider that. So maybe we can.
I think we can defer it to the next meeting.
Okay.
We can maybe for that.
And you
Yeah,
have to
this-
contact those
we've had some nominees.
to tell them if to vary it.
Yeah, well, to be fair, one of the people who's been nominated is that they're deceased, but it was so like it was the most.
Oh, right,
serious,
yeah.
but they weren't deceased at the time they were nominated.
Right.
but
That's
they
not the first time
are
that's happened,
deceased.
was it? If you think it was that lady from the other year when the husband came to get the award.
Yeah. So it's not unheard of, but then it seemed it's
You fall for it as well.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's difficult.
But the only thing we need to bring into that section is, I don't know, maybe it's for another meeting again, but we need to think about something. What it'd be good if we put them to one side is how we go to mark about what's happened over the last 2 years. So can we sort of bring that up to the next meeting, Richard, please?
So, yeah. High Bridge Best, so they haven't gone out to the motorsport event.
Yeah, they haven't come back. One of the people who was wearing them caught COVID, so they've had to buy some special COVID washing and cleaning stuff for.
So you just put them
I
aside
didn't,
for
I, didn't
72
ask,
hours.
I didn't ask them to do that. I didn't ask them to do that. They just did it.
I saw them in use actually, and
Did
they
you?
look very
Did
smart.
you?
Yeah.
Good. And how we better promote the sharing of them. Well, I mean, I suppose the obvious thing is to let people know when we give them grants. Well, I think if we give people grants, we can say, one, you can borrow our vests, and two, you can use our notice board. That would be one way to.
I mean, a perfect example is the Hotness Show.
Yeah.
You know, why don't we just say, well, can we ask your volunteers to wear these vests on the day?
Yeah.
They might appreciate that because they've got plenty of vests to wear. And
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point.
Well, assuming they get a grant award, then they get.
Well, well, we've already said we're going to sponsor the trophy,
Yeah.
so they're going to grant it with. But yeah,
But I think also, again, as events start picking up, I think there's the opportunity potentially to put it on our community notice board.
Yeah.
Saying,
Yeah.
if you have an event and you need reflective vests, please
Yeah.
be aware the parish council will bring them to.
Okay. Correspondence regarding last year's summer wine and improved signage.
Can I give a quick comment on this?
Yeah,
I'm a bit uncertain what I think about whether signage is a good idea or not, but I'm conscious that like Nora Batty's Steps is actually it's a private residence that's rented out, so it's not like we can put a sign on it.
I think isn't it the chap who, isn't it his place? Doesn't the chap who corresponded?
Oh, what, the wrinkled
Doesn't
stocking?
he
Yes,
own
he's the owner of the wrinkled stocking. Yeah.
so
But I think the house itself is separate actually.
Oh, is it?
The one above,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
because I'm sure I saw it for sale.
it's a private residence, it's not a...
So this is actually coming from the guy who owns the Winkle Stock.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
The thing is, I mean, I'm sort of... That's nothing to... I think that's Kirklees' issue, or...
Well, just to give some context, he went to he wrote to Jason McCartney,
Yeah.
who then said perhaps you could contact Kirklees Tourism or the parish council might be interested.
Yeah.
So I forwarded it and asked for it to be on this agenda because if it was
Yeah.
going to sit anywhere, it would sit with this one. But I mean, the difficulty is that we could potentially put some sort of sign up or do a trail or something, but I'm not sure that's something that we would. It feels a bit late in the day to be doing that. And I don't disagree with them, and lots of people do still come to see Last of the Sun White things, but I sort of think the onus is on those places that, Sid's Cafe and the Wrinkled Stocking, to then tell people where to go.
Yeah.
Because the other, again, the business association, or because it can either come from the business or it could come from Kirklees Tourism, but Kirklees Tourism pretty much abandoned Holmfirth as a major tour. It used to be the jewel in their crown, and there isn't the focus on tourism in the council anymore. There hasn't been for years. So we don't even know how far you'd get if you. But really, certainly if you wanted to put up formal brown signs. Then
I
that's
think
Kirklees
Councillor Bellamy used to be
Council's
Kirklees Tourism, didn't he, for us? You know, Trevor Bellamy, I think he was our representative on the tourist event. I don't know, so it might be worth asking Councillor Trevor Bellamy to see if there's still anything going on the tourist side, because he is...
Well, Paul would know, wouldn't he? I mean,
No, but Trevor Bellamy is our representative of this council, on that committee.
Oh, is he? Oh,
Yes.
There still is a tourism committee.
That's what I said, he is our representative, so it might be worth asking the question to him. But I know it's not because of COVID, it's not been happening
Right.
because of COVID, so he's still our official representative.
I think what I would urge, because an individual business can't apply for funding, what I would suggest we do is go back to the person who's, I think it's Dennis Fussell, is his name, who is the owner of the Winkle Stocking, and say, you know, potentially the parish council may be able to give a grant to support the production of a signage, but you would need to apply as a community group or organisation in order to access this funding, and then the onus is on him to work with other businesses if he wishes to come up with a proposal, because there's no reason there couldn't be some sort of little sign somewhere that says, you know, this is the Nora Batty Trail or whatever. If someone wants to invent one, great, but I don't think we're the best place people to do it. I think it's the businesses that still build on Last of the Summer Wine, and if they want to then apply for some grant funding in a business association way or in a group of businesses to set up a community group to do it, then fine. But I think that feels to me like the best way to do it, and then you get the people who actually know about it getting what they want, rather than us saying, oh, well, maybe they might like this. Because I don't disagree with the idea, but I don't think.
Well, I think you're also right, 'cause it's a bit. It's about 20 years too late.
Yeah.
And then finally, I don't know whether this could really be deferred, but with the Jubilees doing beacons again, as you all know, just above my house we've got a beacon. So I think there's only one. The next nearest one's Castle Hill, isn't it?
Well, we've got. I don't know if you know, the parish council have a beacon.
We have a temporary beacon that resides at the Bellamy's, which is a gas beacon, and we last used it for, was it 2018?
Yeah, when
Beacons of Light,
Slouch.
which was 100 years after the end of World War I.
Right.
But that was in November, and as I understand it, when it was previously used in June on the top of Home
The window like that, wasn't it?
We had a last postplay up there, but it was just a little event for especially invited guests, because the problem with the Home Loss car park is you can't end up inviting everybody. And apparently when something happened at June, years previous, before I was a councillor, there was a problem with lots of cars all parking up where the Home Loss wanted to go to the beacon event.
I think the problem with the Home Loss was we anticipated how popular it's going to be, because it was something new and unique. Everybody wanted to come to it, and it was like...
Was that 2012?
Yeah, it was the Jubilee. Yeah, it was like, and everyone thought, oh, we're going to go to this because it's something different. And like, they were queuing from the bottom of the hill all the way up, and the people who rented as VIPs couldn't make it. You know, we had to, so...
I think we encouraged Friends of Cliff Wreck to do, because last time for the Beacons of Light in November, Friends of Cliff Wreck, we gave them some money towards the running of the event. I don't think it was very much, because it wasn't a big event.
They've asked to get, I got an email from them today asking whether we are doing similar.
Oh, okay. I think, in principle, I think we...
Well, I think that goes on what I was saying before, as in September, we need to start thinking about what we're going to do as sponsorship. That could be part of that idea, as in they could apply for a grant of £100 towards that. Again, you know...
Do we want to do similar to what we did to...
That's what I said, it was leave that till September's meeting, or whatever the next meeting is, where we can set up a budget of it.
So I think we could reply to... I should probably declare a slight interest in this, because I live with somebody who's part of the Cliff Wreck, Friends of Cliff Wreck group, and will almost certainly be involved in sorting it out, because I was last time. But I think we can say, we will be hoping to do something, watch the space, in September.
Yeah, we're going to consider something in the next meeting, and we'll get back to it.
Our next meeting isn't for a while, though. I don't know when it is, but it's not, it won't be September. It'll be about November, won't it?
Because I know the big thing's in June next year, isn't it? So I don't know why that's September.
Sounds like the other issue, though, is we need to decide the viability of our gas beacon.
Well, we need to get it checked.
And could or should you put it somewhere else and do it? You put it also.
October.
But again, it's all the logistics of getting it back, managing the site.
Well,
it becomes a big task.
The thing with the one on Iron Moss is you have to get, there's various permissions you have to get from Peak District National Park, Yorkshire Water, because I did all that for 2018, but it really was about the fact that we said, well, we're only inviting specific, because we have representatives from like e-formed organisations and stuff, and I think the nervousness in June would be that there would be lots of people.
Do you know what we could? Is to work with Homley this year and say, you know, we've had it here, we've had it. Why don't we? And Homley don't have a beacon as such, why don't we not work with all these business associations saying like, we have this gas beacon, which we want to, you know, can we work with you to create an event for Honda this time round?
Do they have a hill?
Well, it could be a community event in the park where they, you know,
Because it's supposed to be on a hill.
and that's supposed to be a hill, but if you think about it, the pub,
Spinning
you couldn't
out.
say it for the pub, could you? So it might be just. It's a,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
throwing
but
an
that's because
idea.
it was dark and...
I just throw an idea. I think it's not
yeah,
today.
it's an idea, yeah.
So, but as I said, can we leave that till that
Yeah,
next meeting?
yeah.
But that's what I'm
Yeah, so
thinking.
to note that we have a movable
Yeah.
beacon which could
Yeah.
go somewhere else in the valley. Yeah, no, that's fair. I was just saying, I tend to think of them sort of on...
Because it'd be nice if the community could get involved, something like Homley Community, and I mean, a perfect place for us would be Heritage Edge. Because you've got a perfect apex where you
Yeah.
can get people stood around, you can block the road off and do that, and you've got a public course where they'll probably host the event for you, and it's on top of the hill.
Even better.
It would be quite, because it's, you know, it's effectively in next financial year, isn't it? But it would be quite good if, because we're unlikely to be spending anything from the royal budget for any other reason, are we? So it might be, well, yeah. Sorry.
That's what you said.
Sorry? Delete that bit.
Okay, yeah, I'll stop there.
But yes, there's the potential to put in a bigger budget if we wanted to support a bigger event. Yeah, let's defer it to the next.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
But the principle of beacons is a good thing.
Yeah, so if you want to write to, or whoever to say, like, yeah, we are considering the next meeting that we'll do something and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, okay.
As in what we've decided, what we want to do.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, yeah, well, this is done.
If we don't.
Thanks for serving on this committee. I'm not putting myself forward for this committee next year, so I don't know.
Okay, let's hope there's some
But thanks for your...
people willing to. Well, thank you for being chair for this year.
Yeah, you did a good job, I think.
He's staying on, Rachel.
You know,
Sorry?
You've got to be staying
there's a
on.
lot of,
I'll stay on this
there's a
committee,
lot of,
Because I've come in down for this committee again as well, so
a lot
you'll be getting my vote.
of branding got done, which thing's been very positive.
Yeah. No, I think we've made some good progress actually. Particularly given the limitations of COVID, I think we've managed to take the opportunity to
I
go.
think this year we've done a lot of things more than what we could have done. So I think we'll pat on your back there. All around.
Well, I'm to Rich for his work behind the scenes, and
Absolutely.
so all these committees come up with some great ideas and then Clark cops for it from the deputy. I know Rachel does a
Yeah,
lot of
turning
work.
stuff
I think it makes it easier when you've got somebody who's committed to the task. It makes your life a lot easier. So singing your praises there, Richard.
Thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate it.
I'll keep that bit.